Okay, so you may recall yesterday there was news, and I covered it on here on the Daily Facts about the Jussie Smollett case, specifically about Kim Fox, and there was a special prosecutor that was assigned to review what went on in the Jussie Smollett case because there were a lot of problems and issues. But this is the report that Dan Webb, the special prosecutor, released yesterday. So let's just go through some of this. I think it's very fascinating. All right, so it says Special Prosecutor Dan K. Webb of Winston and Strawn concludes investigation into the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, which is Kim Fox, and Chicago Police Department's handling of the Jussie Smollett case. All right, so we'll read this first paragraph introduction. Dan K. Webb, Special Prosecutor for Cook County, announced today that the Office of the Special Prosecutor, OSP, there's going to be a lot of acronyms, so keep up, has completed its investigative assignment under Cook County Circuit Court Judge Michael P. Tuman's second directive to the OSP to determine whether any person or office involved in People of the State of Illinois versus Jussie Smollett. And that's case number 19CR0310401, in case anyone wants to get those documents. The initial Smollett case, engaged in wrongdoing. In connection with this second directive from Judge Tuman, the OSP has investigated the conduct of the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, CCSAO, and the Chicago Police Department, CPD, as well as individuals working in those offices. This information release will set forth the OSP's major conclusions and findings from its investigation pursuant to Judge Tuman's second directive. Okay, so this is basically saying, here's our findings per the Judge Tuman's direction. We researched and we looked into the handlings of the Jussie Smollett case, and we're getting ready to explain our findings. Okay. Let's read the second paragraph. I think it's important. The OSP's investigation, which was conducted in conjunction with a special grand jury, began on August 23rd of 2019, so last year, around this time, almost a year ago, when Judge Tuman appointed Mr. Webb as special prosecutor. Judge Tuman directed Mr. Webb, who was the special counsel, to conduct an all-encompassing independent investigation to determine the following. One, whether Jussie Smollett should be further prosecuted for the alleged false reports he made to CPD officers, first directive, and two, whether any person or office involved in the initial Smollett case engaged in any wrongdoing, second directive. Mr. Webb's appointment as special prosecutor followed as a decision by Judge Tuman on June 21st, 2019, that a special prosecutor should be appointed in connection with the initial Smollett case in order to restore the public's confidence in the integrity of our criminal justice system. And that's in quotes. All right, we're going to move on. In connection with Judge Tuman's first directive to determine whether Jussie Smollett should be further prosecuted, the OSP ultimately requested on February 11th, 2020, that the special grand jury indict Mr. Smollett, and the grand jury returned a true bill. The OSP then filed a 6-count indictment charging Mr. Smollett with making 4 separate false reports to CPD officers related to, related to his false claims that he was the victim of a hate crime, knowing that he was not the victim of a hate crime. So he claimed that he was a victim of the hate crime, but this is saying that he knew that he was, in fact, not a victim of a hate crime. The further prosecution of Mr. Smollett is ongoing. Okay, so we know that they're still looking at that, and there's, he could still have go to court and possibly even prison. So it's still that case is still open and it's being worked. Okay. All right, let's see. Where did I leave off? Charging Mr. Smollett. Okay, so they charged a 6-count indictment charging Mr. Smollett with making 4 separate false reports to CPD officers related to his false claims that he was the victim of a hate crime, knowing that he was not the victim of a hate crime. Okay, we read that, but I think it's important to reiterate. The further prosecution of Mr. Smollett is ongoing and will not be concluded until a final disposition of the indictment charges is reached as the result of a jury trial. Okay, so there you go. As of the date of this information release, Mr. Smollett's trial date has not yet been set by the court. Accordingly, the first directive will not be completed until Mr. Smollett's criminal trial has occurred. All right, so right there it says he will be going to court. Just imagine if you're Jussie Smollett right now. That's looming over you. That's stress. That's stress. Okay, let's continue. In his August 23rd, 2019 order, Judge Tooman directed the OSP to submit a final written report to him and for the benefit of the Cook County Board of Commissioners. That details the ultimate results of both his directives. Because Mr. Smollett's criminal trial will not likely take place for several months because of the pandemic, it will be a substantial period of time from now until the OSP's final written report on both directives will be submitted to the court and for the benefit of the Cook County Board of Commissioners. All right, let's continue. The OSP has just completed a thorough and exhaustive investigation into Judge Tooman's second directive, which included conducting 53 interviews, issuing more than 50 subpoenas and/or document requests, and collecting more than 120,000 pages of documents, or more than 26,000 documents, as well as text messages, data, and audio recordings. The OSP has prepared a detailed and comprehensive report that sets forth the evidence that relates to each of the major conclusions and supporting findings from its investigation into the second directive. This approximately 60-page evidence report is entitled The Office of the Special Prosecutor's Summary of its Final Conclusions, supporting findings and evidence relating to the Cook County State's Attorney's Office and the Chicago Police Department's involvement in the initial Smollett case. Summary report. Wow, that's a lot. Okay, it is the position of the OSP that this summary report should be made public because the OSP has just completed its investigative assignment in connection with Judge Tooman's second directive. And because one of the major purposes of Mr. Webb's appointment as special prosecutor was, according to Judge Tooman's June 21st, 2019 order, that a special prosecutor should be appointed in connection with the initial Smollett case in order to restore the public's confidence in the integrity of our criminal justice system. However, because the OSP's summary report contains a substantial amount of grand jury evidentiary material, under Illinois grand jury secrecy law, the summary report cannot be made public by the OSP without an appropriate court order authorizing the OSP to make summary report public in the interest of justice. Okay, so there you go. They're not going to make that public because, there's just what they said in an appropriate court order authorizing the OSP to make this summary report public in the interest of justice. So the report contains information that could be evidence and so on and so forth. And under the secrecy laws, it's not being released at this point. Accordingly, today the OSP will file a motion before Judge Tooman requesting that he enter an order authorizing the public release of the OSP's summary report and the grand jury materials contained therein in the interest of justice. Oh, that's going to be good. If they release that, we'll take a look at it. Absent such an order under Illinois law, the OSP cannot release the evidentiary information in the summary report that is protected by grand jury secrecy. And if the OSP did so, Illinois law provides that the OSP may be held in contempt of court for the improper release of grand jury information. The OSP will seek to present its motion to Judge Tooman as quickly as possible. In the meantime, the OSP has determined that it has the authority to legally issue this information release that will provide the public a detailed overview of the final conclusions and findings reached by the OSP after completing its investigation of Judge Tooman's second directive. While the OSP summary report provides the evidentiary basis for its findings and conclusions, the OSP relieves this information release will provide the public with a detailed understanding of the final conclusions and findings reached by the OSP. Okay, we're going to stop there for now, and we'll do this in parts, but this is fascinating. So we've learned some facts here that Jussie Smollett will be going to court, that they couldn't release the evidence and their findings, but they've presented it to the court because they feel it's in the best interest of the public to see how they came to their conclusions. So those are some things that we've pulled out of this thus far. All right, so we'll pick back up and cover the second part of this report. It should be very interesting. Those are the daily facts for now. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.